Hi, Aisling. Happy to have you again in Private Kitchen. This time we want to talk a bit about the Buccaneers, the series that you're also nominated for in the Netherlands for your score. A series. So far we discussed some films, but the series is already something completely different, I guess. And you're not on your own this time. You score together with Anna Phoebe. Maybe you can start telling something about this project with Anna, how you started out with AVAWAVES and how you got both
Yeah,
of you involved with scoring together also.
Anna and I met quite randomly at the Indian Embassy in London many years ago. Probably about 7 or 8 years ago. I was doing some work for the BBC at the time, and this guy asked if I wanted to come along to an event that was going on at the Indian Embassy. It was like an industry night in London, and there would be this performer there that he thought I would like. And this performer happened to be Anna Phoebe, and she was performing with her band there. She's an incredible, very well accomplished violinist who was just absolutely mesmerizing to watch on stage. And basically, as soon as I saw her perform, I was like, I need to meet this woman because I've never seen somebody perform with so much attitude, and I love it. So we got chatting afterwards, and I expressed that, I wanted to kind of write more music that was also not too brief, but just for fun.
Hmm.
And she was interested also in the composing and scoring world. And so we decided to go for coffee and we just hit it off. And initially just became friends. And then, as I guess a kind of experiment, we were like, let's just see what kind of music, we would make together, and sat down and wrote what then became the title track of our first album, Waves. We sent this off initially thinking maybe this could be something that is, used for sync, or we can do a studio album that can be pitched for stuff, and but not necessarily as a band, just, as a creative project. And this somehow evolved and evolved and evolved and ended up in basically us writing our first album and being signed by One Little Independent Records in London. And then we were suddenly an artist and had to come up with a band name and figure out how to perform everything live, which helpfully I, of course, hadn't considered when layering
Uh,
8 pianos and only having two hands. So this was a whole, new element to it. So what's fun about Ava Waves, I think, is that it all happened very organically and it very much by accident. Um, and then it's just been a really strong partnership in terms of co-composing and co-writing. We're currently finishing our third album now, which we are very, very excited about. And we work on a completely 50-50 basis, and as an incredible composer in our own right, and mixes and produces and all of that stuff too. So we were really able to meet each other in the middle,
mm,
but coming with extremely different backgrounds, I guess, in a way, and different experiences, and bringing different influences to the table. And it's not easy, I think, to meet someone that you can work so efficiently and well with as a composer. We're all quite, um, well, we're all quite individual people, I would
mhm.
say, that also need to be insular and to have our own internal dialogue in what we're telling in the music. So to meet someone that was so easy to work with and collaborate with, and then create something that felt true to ourselves, was really um, quite special. So we started off just writing as a band, and then eventually we started also scoring to film and TV, since that was kind of the world that I was in and wanted to be in. And Anna, had also scored stuff before, but has an incredibly impressive background in performing and live performance, and has toured all over the world. And that was something that I had no experience in.
Mm-hmm.
So it was, it was beautiful to kind of like bring these different experiences together. And now we really have both aspects to our careers, where it's on stage and off stage in the studio.
In studio. How does it work when working on the score with her together? Is it? I can imagine that your approach is also changing due to this collaboration, and I can also imagine that because she has this background of a live performer, that she brings also this live aspect into studio, like improvising, etc. Maybe it's working totally different, but I'm just curious.
100%.
Yeah, how does it work for you also?
Yeah, it's really interesting. I mean, we always start in the same room and just being together, normally me behind the piano and her on the violin, and we just jam. And sometimes it's like, one of us has found a sound on a synth that we really want to use, or there's a drum beat one of us has created, and it's like, this would be cool as, a rhythm. And so we really bounce off each other very well. And that's the huge privilege of collaborating with someone, is that, not all the pressure is on you. And you also inspire each other. So when we were writing our first album, especially, we'd spend hours and hours in the studio, but sometimes it would be like, okay, you go outside, you go for a walk, go make us some lunch. I just need an hour of, being alone with this. And then I'd come back, and then I'd be like, oh my God, now I've got an idea. I want to use that and do this with it. And you can really bounce off each other. And that is just incredible. Of course, over the course of the years, also after, I moved to Berlin and stuff, we had less opportunity to necessarily be in the same room all the time. So we'd always start in the same place and end in the same place. But then we established this way of working together where we could send projects back and forth. And we would basically ping pong them back and forth to each other to do rounds on them, and then add stuff, and then come back together and review together. And you always listen completely different when there's two of you in the room. I think you become a lot more self-aware and critical than when you're just in your studio alone. So that's generally how we managed to work together. And, writing for film came quite naturally because we'd already been working together. We were really lucky that it wasn't a new system we had to establish. We'd already been doing it for our albums and for other stuff we were doing. So it felt quite natural, and, it only gets more efficient every time. So the first film we scored together was Savage Waters. And we went through a whole variety of systems of what was efficient and what wasn't before we even got to Buccaneers. And, by the end of Buccaneers, we have an entirely different idea of how we're going to do season 2 much more efficiently than season 1. But, that's part of the process.